Okay, we're recording. So welcome to the May board meeting. Owen is here, the chair, but I think he's still working on the laptop, so I'll be sharing the call for now. Is Dawn on? But we can look at the attendance. I see all 7 board members accounted. Yeah, I'll share my screen actually. That's a good point. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It's just the empty browser, or?
No, we can see the virtual AppSec Days of Summer.
Yes, we can. We can actually see May 2020 video conference.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I was just checking the page because it wasn't very clear where it was sharing. But yeah, so we'll go quickly through the agenda. So the first point of call is with regards to the previous board meetings. So motion to, if the board members have reviewed the April board meeting notes, we can motion to approve the previous month board meeting notes.
I second.
Good. So by the names of board members that I can see, the first one, so Richard. Richard, we're voting on, are you on mute?
Approve.
Okay, so that's one yes. Grant?
Yes.
Martin? Vandana?
Yes.
Owen? Owen?
Can't hear you, Owen.
Yeah, I think you're on mute. Okay. Yeah, you're still on mute.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, the headphones muted. Yes, for me.
Yes. And Gary?
Yes.
And also yes for me. So the April board meeting notes have passed. So now I'll hand it to Mike to go through the reports, and then we'll go to the old business.
Mike online?
I was muted, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so just real quickly, KPIs for this month. Membership did increase last month. That's not related to any free memberships. That's just some organic growth. I haven't dug into why, but because I just pulled those numbers just before the Memorial Day weekend for the report. Our website traffic, as you may remember, was down about 15% the previous month. It's now only 6% down, so I think we're seeing some COVID recovery in terms of traffic. Also, I guess our conference helped too, because we were doing a lot of promotion to get traffic to the website there. So we've seen a year-on-year decrease of traffic of about 6%, which given everything that's happening in the world is quite remarkable that it's that low. Also of note is our wiki traffic now is below 6% of all traffic to our web properties. That previously has been between 12 and 15. And a lot of work that Harold and the SEO team had done was basically kind of solving some of the traffic problems there. So that's good news. You can see the SLAs on service tickets. We've actually kind of getting worse at the non-funding request. That's mostly a lot of contact us emails that we just don't have time to get to. We're in the process of doing a remediation plan right now, but that's the only significant change, and it's very slight from the previous month. Tom will talk about finances. We have about $1.4 million cash on hand, and actually year-to-date net income, we have lost $35,000, but the original budget was for us to lose almost, well, just over $200,000. So actually we're in a fairly good position when it comes to year on date to budget. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom to go through finance.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, Mike hit the high points, for revenue based on the online event that we had, which is attributable to Mike and Emily and the crew. Conference income versus budget was up $279,000. But membership, which is more the corporate membership, was down, as were donations to budget. So we were about $56,000 ahead of budget in April on the revenue side. And on the expense side, we were about $121,000 under. Conferences in total, and there were a few. There was Snowfrock and Seasides, NZ Day, AppSec Cali. Between all of them, it was over budget by about $62,000. Other than that, every other department is under. So to Mike's point, our budgeted, the one that was approved, net income through 4 months was supposed to be a $213,000 loss, because June and October are the 2 real months, other than January, that that we show a positive net income that covers everything else. But as we sit at the end of April, we were only at a minus $35,000 for net income. So on a combined basis, by the way. So through April we were doing very well. Now we all know that that's not going to continue. I'll let you know, Vandana and I are meeting every other week, and we're going through walking through questions she may have, things that regard to the finances. So that's been going well. The biggest issue, and it's not something that's not known, is the chapters through April have a balance of $888,000. So that just continues to grow. I think the chapters spent $4,000 in April. So if that continues to grow, while we have plenty of cash, it just keeps the events that the chapters are doing, and the split just keeps going the wrong way. I also will tell you, I looked at the bank accounts before the meeting. We have about 1.4 million in the U.S. and about 200,000 in the EU accounts. So again, 1.6 million as we sit here today is not bad. I'll also let you know I'm working on a cash forecast. I'm hoping to review it with Vandana next week, so that we can kind of track based on the Z forecast that was approved last meeting that starts with May. That may give us a little bit more insight as to our ups and downs in cash the rest of the year. So with that, I'll take any questions. Not hearing any. I'll turn it back over to Sharif.
Actually, do you want me to go through the executive director report real quick, as that's listed
sorry,
below?
Mike.
That's all right. So Sharif, you just scroll
Sure.
down
Yeah.
to the executive director report. So obviously everyone can read this at their leisure. I'm just going to make some quick comments on highlights. So when it comes to conferences, Tom's already mentioned the virtual AppSec Days was a very big success. You have all the metrics there. About $165,000 of revenue. Quite a bit of that went out in training costs. I don't have that number handy, but it was a profitable event without question. In part because of that, the Tiger team for the virtual conferences has continued to meet, and they are planning a Summer of Security event, actually a series of events in June, July, and August. The call for trainers has closed on Friday. And actually that number, there are 59 submissions is inaccurate. I'll update that. I think it's closer to 70. We had quite a few people submit to do training classes for that. And we're going to be working on that this week to get some of the initial work done in terms of launching the website and all that, to be able to start taking registrations as soon as possible once we have the call for trainers cleaned. I also mentioned that the Global AppSec San Francisco event program is coming along. We are still on track to launch the registration website June 1st. The last time the board visited this particular conference, I know Richard's had some comments since then in the last week, but the current plan was to make a decision at the July board meeting. Staff is still working towards launching the program with a registration website next week so that people can start registering and we can get a sense as to whether or not people are going to be willing to travel before we cancel that event at this point in time. Also, do note, we have executed the contract for San Francisco 2021, and we're still working out some final details on Berlin 2022, but we should see that soon. Also of note, many of you may know, but DEF CON and Black Hat have both been canceled for this year. So we are not going to be participating in those two events at this point in time. Going down to staffing, Alana Stonk will be joining the foundation next week on Monday as our senior events manager. She'll be reporting to Emily. As some of you may also know, SEBA's contract, we've elected not to renew that. And she'll be leaving the organization as a contractor in the next several weeks. Let's see, I've already mentioned the website, a couple other, some good news. Chapters, we have over half of our chapters now have stood up new pages on the new website. We haven't done as well in projects, but we're at about 40% of projects have migrated. Harold and I talk about this pretty frequently, and we think part of the problem on both projects and chapters is stale projects and chapters that are not currently active. And that's a separate project for later, but that's just the current feedback there. Event P&Ls, Don has been, as operations manager, has been kind of championing those. We're closing everything out for 2019. Historically, these have been left open for extended periods of time. I don't want to do that going forward, so that's why we've kind of applied some resources against that. GDPR is a project which you can read about. You've heard about that already before. Hopefully, we're going to kick that off this week. It's been quite a struggle to get MailChimp to do what we wanted to do, but we're almost there. And that's about it in terms of top level items in mind. The next item report is about events and the project plan for events. Emily has, well, I've posted all of that below here. So we have our virtual events. You can see what current and next steps are for Global AppSec San Francisco, and then Dublin, and then events future into 2021 as well as 2022. And all that information is available at the bottom of the board report this week, or this month, I should say. I may not be able to get every question answered when it comes to events, but I know probably most of it. Is any quick questions?
So we are changing now the following up. So I have San Francisco in May and Dublin end of the year. How you foresee that for the following years? Because it's a change that we normally do the first part of the year doing US then Europe. It was actually something that has been suggested many years ago.
Yeah, well, so there's two things that are happening. I mean, obviously we're kind of bootstrapped by availability, or I should say not bootstrapped, but limited based upon availability. The plan was to do Europe in the first half of the year, or in the first 4 or 5 months of the year, and then the Americas one in the back half of the year, and then add a third one in that middle part of the year. And that's kind of where we're at. The problem, Dublin had to go a little bit earlier than we wanted because we had to obviously move out of 2020 and into 2021, and there wasn't much availability. So that's why we have the February date for Dublin. I can't remember that. Well, actually, it might be on that list. March, Berlin actually is planned for May. So that's kind of that late spring timeframe. And then we would plan on having a North America conference, you know, in that October, November timeframe, and then find something else in that middle part for that third anchor Global AppSec event. Does that answer your question, Martin?
Yeah, thanks. And as Pradana rightfully said in the chat, the Black Hat DEF CON are virtual now. Do we joint venture with the AppSec Village for the virtual event?
Yeah, we haven't discussed how. I was just reporting in terms of the primary work product that we started with was around doing booths at both of those events, and we haven't come back together as to what our plan is going to be because those were just canceled or gone virtual within the last 2 weeks or so. So
Yeah,
we haven't had
worth,
another meeting yet about those.
It would be worth speaking to them as to how the other booths are managing it, because obviously they do a lot of donations and drives with the EFF. Obviously, we have a different relationship with them. It would be good to see if there's still a way to collaborate, because I know they had an online for their swag. I don't know if there's something that we can do there, but it may be just worth having a call with them, task.
Yeah, as everyone can imagine, these situations are kind of rapidly evolving, and we're getting information, as we can, and we'll be obviously taking whatever information we do get to find some ways to do some marketing if possible. So, as Lisa's mentioned in the chat, she's been in contact with them to find out more information, at least when it comes to DEF CON and Black Hat.
The outreach committee has also been put in contact with DEF CON groups coordinator to try and see if we can't line up chapters with groups to do some stuff virtually as well.
Yeah, I want to make sure the vote.
I think going forward, it would be ideal if we were to reach out to AppSec Village and to get involved in that and have some input into how it's run, or provide speakers, and make sure OWASP is one of their focal points of marketing.
Yeah, we can certainly.
I would volunteer to build up the contact with AppSec. I know them well. With the AppSec Village.
Yeah, if you want to reach out, Grant, I know you and the outreach committee have also spoken to them, so maybe it would be worth linking in with the outreach committee.
Sure, I'll loop you in, Martin, and get you connected with the OWASP side. You can talk to the AppSec Village.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Sharif. I'll turn it back to you.
No problem. So we'll go quickly through the old business. So the first item that we had in the GitHub projects that we track is accounting to provide recommendation on EU transaction. So I think, Tom, you mentioned TransferWise, if that was an option to leverage or not. Do you have any feedback on this?
Yeah, I'd sent you all a note. I don't know if you saw it, but we did set up the TransferWise account. It doesn't cost anything to set it up. But for other clients that we have, it mitigates a lot of the currency conversion issues, as opposed to the wiring that we're currently doing. So it should alleviate the few issues we have when we make reimbursements on the European side.
Okay, excellent.
Sorry, the other issue, Sharif, is if we can get the banking at ING, that issue sorted out, we could go back to using that. But right now, then everybody, you all know what the issue is as far as having, signers on that account. I'm hoping we can get that resolved, and then you wouldn't need TransferWise either. So those are your two options.
Yep.
Martin might have an update on that.
Yeah, that's I'm the bottleneck in this, and that will be solved soon.
Okay, great.
Okay, so is there a next step for Martin to look on the ING account? Right. The next one is to update on negotiations with events. If 2021 is still an issue due to Corona and not take place, to push back to 2022. I'm not sure if you mentioned that during the sort of virtual events, the events update, Mike, but have you done any do you have an update on this line item?
Yeah, I could. And by the way, Sharif, you should probably refresh your browser, because you made a commit about the community feedback process. That's not, there you go. You can see that.
There you go.
But anyway, yeah, I was going to type something up about this, but it's really kind of an ongoing effort. So as you may know, I mean, all of the contracts, we always make sure there's force majeure language. And what we've been doing is kind of trying to forward plan as much as possible when it comes to these events. I mean, right now, The next event that potentially has, well, the next event is San Francisco, and we have a backup plan for how we're going to do that. We've negotiated how that's going to work. We have already started exploring what might happen if Dublin were to get canceled or postponed, which is in February of 2022. We are withholding signing our hotel block for that reason here a couple more weeks or months until that's kind of a little bit, until we have to. And then we will also go to negotiate with them. In fact, we're already exploring if we have some ways to move out again another year with the CCD. I mean, it's a consistent thing, and it's obviously very fluid. So we're staying on top of that for the next two events for sure.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. So the one that I added above and is about the community feedback process. So Mike, I think, yeah, you've added a draft of that here, right?
Yeah, we don't really have time probably today to review that because I literally just finished this about an hour ago. So Trisha, another resource at Virtual, has been helping me develop this. She had spent almost 2 decades with the IEEE, and a lot of her learnings are kind of included in that process. You can look at it at some later date. The idea, when we started looking at how we were going to take feedback from the community, it was not just who can participate in that, but how do you reconcile all of that feedback, particularly if it's conflicting, through a process that ultimately that's representative of the community and then gets to the board. So at your leisure, and it's something I'm sure we'll probably talk for the next couple of weeks about and then vote at the next board meeting, would be that review process. I will call your attention to the fact that the review process is inclusive of membership, and there is a team that gets established to kind of like take all the feedback and then either reject it, accept it, or you comment it out, and then based upon that information, recommend a final policy to the board. And so the idea is you've got representation both at the submission point of view, then the review of it, as well as the final approval. So please take a look at that when you get a chance.
We'll take a look, and thank you, Mike. Yeah, I mean, just an update on that is great, and ideally we would vote on it and provide feedback on this in time for the next board meeting, because then we can actually put that into action and implement it, because there's several items that we would like to work with the community on.
I would call it a backlog.
Yes, a backlog, a large backlog. I've seen how many policies there are, so fair enough. Okay. So the next item is Vandana to make proposed amendments to the budget. So Vandana, I think like yesterday you sent out an email on Budget Z. Is there anything you want to comment on their recommendations for changes to the budget?
Yes, absolutely. There are 3 things that I highlighted, especially on the memberships, because we need to consider that we need to have the membership going on. We need to have a plan for more memberships. So we will have to work it out, because there is a section which specifically says that we cannot just concentrate. So another important thing is fundraising. So fundraising we need to consider, and it should be part of Budget Z, because foundation needs support, and we can write it in a way that it shouldn't look like that at this time we need donation, but exactly if we say we need it. So we can draft a plan, we can send it out to the companies, we can send it out to the people, and we all can also share it at a wider scale. The second was with the certifications. So I wanted to understand what exactly certification means, because OWASP is open source community. And certification program, in my understanding, is not a good idea because it takes a good amount of effort, and a lot of things are required to make certification credible. And we know that there are a number of certifications already in the industry. We have CEH, we have OSCP, we have CISSP, name it, and like there are a number of certifications which are already there. So we need to define that what exactly we mean that we need certifications here. Also, so when we talk about paid members, we need to call out some benefits for them. We need to iterate it every now and then that these are the benefits for us, benefits for the paid members. And this is what you will be getting, especially when we are having these virtual AppSec days. Is there any particular discount for the paid members? Because paid members, if they get good discounts with those trainings, they would love to be part of it. And the paid membership is just $50. And if they get that good discount with virtual AppSec days, they'll just go ahead and take membership. And we would want, as an organization, a good membership base. I think we can leverage this particular platform to get ahead with that also. It'll only increase our revenue. As a board, if you need any help from our side, we would love to help you in increasing the members any which ways. We keep tweeting about OWASP, we keep tweeting about it, but if you specifically call it out, we would highlight it. I remember a few days back, I and even Sharif tweeted about that we have increased the membership base. So we can actually get that tweets going in every 15 days or every month we can do that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to try to increase membership, and we've had discussions about this for several years now. What value can we give? You know, the disadvantage that we have is that we don't charge for events, right? All the chapter meetings are free. Other organizations can give discounts at the chapter meetings. We can't. So we have to be creative and think of some other value to make people want to be members, right? I know it would be great. Everyone would, you know, we'd want them to altruistically want to donate to OWASP. But everyone isn't like that. We have to be sensitive to that. So we need to be strategic and come up with some ideas.
Okay. So how do we take it further? Because there are two parts to the budget, obviously. The first one is, what are we actually going to do strategically for the year? The other one is sort of resource allocation. And that's a two-step process. Understanding what are the things that we need to carry out, and just how much effort and how much resources do we invest in those. So for the next board meeting, Vandana and team, like as a takeaway, can you look at like actionably like what changes go into the budget that are recommended for this? So I know we're just like having just an update and a discussion. It'll be good to actually have an amendment next board meeting for this.
Absolutely. I'll put it in tomorrow because I have written down few items which I'll put in the agenda item for next month, so that we can just put it, take it from here and then put it in the budget C. I can do that.
Yeah, I just want to say that we have a process on getting items on the agenda, and we should follow, and it definitely helps if we discuss so that people are warned.
Yeah, I think if there's some of these topics that people are putting on as agenda items, we should really be having the discussions outside of the board meeting and bringing a motion to the board meeting so that we can vote on it after having the discussions. The board meeting should be really focused on going through key points from ED and financial perspectives, and also our motions and what we're trying to achieve. If that makes sense.
Yep. So, okay, so we have one line item to take on between now and the next board meeting. Okay, so this is the last item of the old business. I'm not entirely sure how much of it was covered, but for the staff to provide a marketing plan, a conference project plan, and Mike, you provided an abstract to it. We don't necessarily have to cover it, but I think this line item was requested. Also, Richard asked for this. Can you speak to it, Mike, just on a high level?
The marketing plan or the, yeah, so the marketing, I mean, you can read this. I mean, again, this was something that has been in development for a while, but obviously it keeps changing based upon our budget situation and the world around us. So I did kind of document kind of the top or 6 or 7 marketing plan goals for the back half of the year. They are primarily, they are membership and conference focused in reverse order. And since all of you will be seeing this just for the first time today, please take some time to review it and provide some feedback, and we can make updates to it. It's kind of a light abstract, more than what I would consider like a 10-page marketing plan, but given the limited amount of budget we have and the focus we're going to have on literally just trying to get people to these virtual events to make sure we have revenue this year, it didn't seem like it'd be appropriate to spend an exhaustive amount of time to develop a 12-page marketing plan at this stage.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a bit more, Mike. It is light. I'm glad you acknowledge that, but we need to have an idea of how we want to get word out more to industry about all of the open source projects that we have. I didn't see that addressed in there at all. That's really important, to get these partnerships, to get people aware more of OWASP and the tools for companies to start using. That would be really important to see. So if you could take note of that and run with that, that would really be helpful. Also regarding the project plans for the events, that was something that I had asked for, and you had said that it is in existence already, but I wanted to point something out. Could I share the screen for a moment, gentlemen and ladies? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think Sharif might have to stop sharing, or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'll make this brief, but this is something that I helped develop when I was on the Global Conferences Committee several years ago. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, this is the project plan that I've modified significantly for AppSec California, but this was part of an OWASP development committee to make this. And as you can see, it lists all the different actions, when they have to be complete, who's doing them, which will be less important for global, because that is done by staff mainly with the support. But they're categorized, they have deadlines, and as you can see, they're quite extensive. And if I continue all the way down, there are 102 tasks, and those are pre-conference. Post-conference activities, there are about 20, right? So what I see on here for OWASP, that's a good start, but it doesn't really let us know all the things that go into building a conference. And we might, I'll be almost done, have no fear. You might think that, hey, the staff and everybody knows how to do this, but staff will turn over and the board does want assurances. I think that we could be doing better on these global conferences because they are worldwide in stature and knowledge. So we could get a lot more people, and I just want to make sure it's being done correctly, and that's easy transition. So this file that I have shown is part of OWASP lore, and it's been used successfully. I don't know if other chapters have used it. I've heard that they have. You can use whatever you want. This is just an example, but because it was developed by an OWASP committee, it might be worth looking at. So with that said,
yeah, I have 2 problems with this. One, we had, when you are involved with the global conference we did in the past, there is a very extensive behind the scenes deadline books already in place and used. That's not something you put on the website for public share because A, you share names now, what is actually not allowed, but also for other things. So that is already in place. And B, as board, we are not operational, we said. So if you have questions about operational capabilities, you should ask it separately and not in a board meeting.
And having been on the global conference committee for probably the last 5 or 6 years. There are kind of spreadsheets similar to that are assigning tasks and stuff like that for people. So they're just not publicized.
Okay, because as a board member, I had asked for a project plan for the conferences, and I didn't see them. I saw, this little bit of stuff listed. So if I don't understand why it's private, frankly. We're an open organization. What confidential information is there? I don't see it. And
Yeah,
so-
like I can't speak to this year's because I wasn't really on every single call, but for the likes of London and a few others, there were spreadsheets with names against them. I've no idea where they are. I can go looking.
We can share the empty spreadsheets, but on the field, because you're not allowed to share this information with the people's consent. But anyhow, so to separate this matters. So if you have, I understand, and I was there when you had a question, and it was showed. I didn't understand either that you want to have a more detailed conference plan, but that's some different question. But again,
Hey, Martin.
Yeah.
Martin and Richard, it's fine. I mean, like everyone's mentioned, Richard, that is a good process, and we have a variety of these type of sheets that are floating around that we've been using. Now that Alana is going to be starting next week, one of the first tasks, now that Emily's got these 2 global events on her belt, is to take all of the previous spreadsheets that we've used, that kind of like these task lists, and kind of come up with a new version of that. And I'd be more than happy to have her share that with you, once it's done, to make sure that it gets scrubbed for completeness. And that'll be something that'll get done here in the next, I don't know, say 4 to 6 weeks. Again, we have sheets like this. It's just, I know Emily wanted to revise that when she made the changes to staff. So we can make sure to share that with you then.
That'd be great. That's all I wanted. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we move to new business. There are 3 motions currently on the table. So the first one was actually a discussion item that I raised, but I think like from recommendations and from Mike, it would make sense to have it as a motion. We were looking at initially like improvements for the board training, because we all come from different walks of life, but not necessarily from a corporate governance perspective, and understanding sort of the requirements to be on the board of a 501c3. So I was looking around at what other organizations and foundations are out there, and one that was highly recommended was BoardSource, and they do in fact provide packages for nonprofit foundations, and it's actually quite extensive and also affordable for us. So right now with COVID, it used to be $1,000, it's now $500, but it includes training for board members to be basically board members for 501c3 foundations. It provides assessments for both the executive directorate, see how the executive team is doing in areas of improvement, and also for the board, so they can actually come in and provide recommendation for the board as well. Since given the price and also given the need for it, I was recommending that we engage BoardSource for their services and have access to those services for this year, and potentially visit this in the future to see whether or not that replaces the requirement for sort of elected board members to take that training, because it's an online training program. It doesn't take that long, but it's quite more in-depth than what we currently have, and it might be actually more engaging and helpful for the board. So the motion that was put is direct the executive director to engage. Sorry. To engage the foundation with BoardSource for their BOD training and assessment services. So I'll leave that to discussion.
Is that $500 per board member or altogether?
No, altogether.
I didn't hear a second. First motion.
Oh.
Is there a second yet?
So I wasn't. Oh, the
discuss?
motion and then discussion. Yeah. So motion to direct the executive director to engage. Yeah.
I'll second.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's open discussion.
So I like the idea, but I guess at the moment, given the fact that we're reducing costs, I'm not sure whether it's the right time to be putting the cost. I know it's a lot less than what it normally is, but what's everybody's thoughts on that?
Yes, I'm hesitating because I think this should be I have not enough information about it. What is fully cost? What service do we get? The training was for $500. What is the dependency on that? And yes, for spending money on this in this current time, I think this is the wrong thing to do. We are open source. We don't have much money, and then we want to spend money to train people. With something I don't have seen full overview of what the benefits are. I think this should have been discussed more, or more information is required before I put a motion towards that.
Yeah, and ideally, I would kind of like to see maybe it happen at the start of the year when we get when the board transitions and new board members come in, rather than maybe halfway through the year that we are now. But I guess that's up for everybody's opinion. If you.
Yeah.
So I will.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to quickly respond to 2 points. So yeah, you can take your time, and the information is on the site. Because of the cost, at first it was 1,000, then I realized it went down to 500. But even then, I was actually willing to chip in. So it might eventually just cost the foundation $250. But the training is actually comprehensive. You go online, you take a course, an interactive course, but they also can come in and provide services and reviews, and they have some toolkits for 501c3 foundation.
All right, if you could make that available to us, we'll review it. And I think we have to, Owen's point is well taken, but we still have to decide and approve it prior to January, right? So let the board review it.
Okay.
Nana, you had a comment.
Email.
Yeah, I don't think.
So there are two things. First, we need to know what.
Could you please, sorry, could you please change the page, because I don't want to watch source. Yeah, could you wait to the motion, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So first of all, no, it's okay. So first we need to understand what the board source is. If we feel that it's actually relevant, I would say we should go for training, because we are working as a board, and especially I and Grant have chimed in a few months back. It'll be a great idea to know how boards are functioning in other parts of the world, and especially how they have constructed the training, because it'll be a new learning for us as well. That's what I feel. Because we have been working on our own pace, on our own way. Like we are meeting every month, and then we are putting the agenda items. Especially after going through it, we might get something new to learn. So I feel we should go for it. But yes, we should first check what board source is. But these kind of trainings, I think we should have for every board member. That's my perspective. It's not just with board source, but it can be for anyone, because we have got the books which we have read. But if there is a virtual training which assesses, I think it can give a different feel altogether.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Yeah, we're not an experienced board. We are individual contributors who are mostly doing this as our first board engagement, so I think it's a very good idea. Second point is it £500 for all of us, or dollars forever, or is there a renewal fee each year? How does that work?
I think
Sharif?
without asking for the money, what does it deliver for? Why would you want to do it? So I don't even care about the money yet.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, when everyone comes in, they come in with various, on the board, they have various experiences from the knapsack background. They may not necessarily have the relevant board experience, and the books provide a light explanation, but not enough. And I was lucky to take like a diploma in company direction before stepping in, there's a wealth of things that they're just not covering. And also some of the things structurally as a board, it would be good that we have a solid foundation when everybody comes in on a solid level of understanding of what a board of a 501c3 is, and enough resources and support to help. So for example, as a treasurer, you know, everyone hates it, and not everyone has sort of like financial background. There are some things for finance, for non-finance boards, directors, for example, to help with that. The other one is to give an independent feedback. You're running everything, if you're closed and thinking everything is well, it's good for someone who has taken a step out and actually tell you and provide you some constructive feedback. And the final one is also part of our role is to evaluate the executive director, and they also provide that support as well. And all of that is provided within that package. So I can send it over again. I'd recommend us to take a look at it. Alternatively,
Sharif?
we can bring them in or someone else to take a look. Yeah.
Is this something that is this something that we buy off the website, or is this something that they put a proposal together in line with what we are and specific to the foundation?
I think it's Tom. We took a look at that. It depends on the level of 501c3 and the level of grants that we have. So this is the band that we're in. I think we can just submit a form and say that we want to take a look.
Yeah,
There are
it'd be
other-
useful to
are
get
there other
all that information.
Are there other competing solutions? You know, we shouldn't just look at one.
There was one, but that one is sort of ridiculous in its sort of pricing. With the Institute of Directors.
Tom wanted to.
I haven't seen another one as good. Sorry, Tom, go on.
No, it's okay. I was going to say that, you know, if you decide to go down this route before you sign on, you might want a couple of references from other boards that they've assisted. I know since 2016, you know, our CEO and our Chief Growth Officer, we've tried to get them together with you because they do facilitate board strategic discussions and you know, advising the boards. It just never worked out. I mean, we were at the conference in 2016 when Andy Freed and I met with Matt Conder and Andrew Vanderstock. So that's still something that, you know, that we could also talk about as well, because the only cost to that is, well, now it's a Zoom meeting, so there wouldn't be any cost. The cost was, you know, their travel. The other thing that I just want to point out is I think that, you know, Owen brings up a very good point that, you know, we're now almost in June. While, you know, it would be beneficial for some of the newer board members here, I think that if you spend a little time, vet this and anything else, that you set it up so that it's ready to go at the end of the year when your new board members come in, that you make it beneficial, you know, for them to get the training they need. My 2 cents.
I think, if I may, yes, it's a board members who come as the sitting because they had no training. So I'm in favor of training, and it should be then arranged before they become board members. So they're elected, they are on the process to become board members. So hit the ground running, it will be good. But this proposal, we don't know what we get, we don't know what we fully pay. So I think that, and then I don't know why it requires a motion to do so. But yeah. So I think that we need more preparation. It should be clear, but there could be a replacement for a mentor for every board member. But I first want to see what they do and is there alternatives, because now we get one solution presented. I have no idea based on what.
Tom, what you were describing, is that a normal offering that your company does, or is that just something that you can do to help us out because we were engaged?
It's both. So we've become more of a professional services organization over the last couple of years since we merged. We do a large number of consulting. We have consulting projects with the Gates Foundation. We have consulting projects with the World Bank, Habitat for Humanity in Canada, which Greg Cohn, our Chief Growth Officer, and Andy Freed, our CEO, work on, and then they'll bring certain of us others in. Like if they need a budget done, they might bring me in. So you know, and we do charge consulting fees for that. But to your point, Richard, because you're engaged with virtual already, they're you know, we've talked about it for a few years that, you know, to get it going and get you guys trained, there wouldn't be.
Do you have an outline or a course description, so to speak, of what your offering is?
Yeah, let me connect with Greg. Well, I will tell you this, it's customized per organization because, you know, you're not the same as a 501c3 that's on the professional side. You guys are more of a tech group or a 501c6 association. So let me see if I can get something, you know, at least maybe a one-page. I'm pretty sure you're all invited to the webinars that we hold. I will check with our business development manager because they have a number of webinars. We did some on, you know, COVID and, what was the other one that they did? Setting up, board support and some other things. So I'll make sure that you guys are all on the email list for the webinars that we put out once a month or once every couple of months that you guys can join.
Yeah, okay, and just send us whatever you have outlined for this so we can evaluate and compare it to what Sharif has researched.
I guess this is into the weeds, but as the motion was put forward and it was second, we kind of need to vote on it now, or it can be withdrawn for now. What would you like to do, Sharif?
So what I could do is withdraw the motion, and during the month of June, basically review the options out there for another vote, or in July. I will say one thing, that the idea is that they would bring them on board now. I'd hoped that others had taken a look at the links that I'd sent, but water under the bridge, the idea would be to bring them now, to take a look at them as optional training, and then if they are pretty good, prior to the new board joining, we would say that this is the required training going forward. So by the time they join, they'll be able to do that. That was the logic or the thinking about it, and I was looking at it since February this year.
It makes sense, and thanks for putting in all the work, Sharif, because I know we've talked about it on a number of occasions, but I think maybe from a board meeting perspective, we might keep it vendor neutral and not talk about specific companies or give them a potential PR opportunity. Sorry to be the bad guy in it, but
no problem.
Maybe if we were to evaluate a few others based on what they offer, pricing, and then we can make an informed decision and even have a discussion offline or in an executive meeting if that suits.
Yeah, so let's have the board commit to review what Sharif has already researched for us, and subsequent to that, if you find anything else that's worthy, Sharif, forward that on. And then Tom will look at yours too, if you can get that to us in a timely fashion. Thanks.
Yeah,
no, I'll get it.
Richard. Sharif, Tom has already seen it,
Yeah, so I wanted to apologize, Sharif. This is nothing against what you found, because I completely agree that, you know, people that come on the board that don't have any experience, training makes their experience on the board that much better. I just worry that at $500 for everything that you're talking about is the old adage, you get what you pay for. So that's why I was bringing up that we should vet it, get some recommendations, and look at some others, regardless of which one we choose. I do fully support getting board members training on how to work on a board.
Yeah, to be honest, when I started, I didn't even want a board motion. I was thinking of having it as, do we discuss and agree to have the ED as an operational item to look at options for training for the board. It went to, let's take a look at that one specifically. But we can take that offline and look at the other options. But I agree, for better professionalism for the board, it would be good to have, you know, better training and for everyone to be on the same level. So I would withdraw my motion so we can continue with the other two, given that there's just 20 minutes on the clock.
And something like this, Sharif, and all, it might be something that we ask Mike and the staff to look into, something that, like, in the end, the board rotates on and off. So the staff are those who are going to be maintaining this going forward. So it might be something that the staff own and look to kind of drive, as well as having the book sent out to new board members that they're inducted into this similar kind of training.
Okay. So the next motion is due to COVID-19 global pandemic and to protect the personal safety of our community, the OWASP Foundation is banning all in-person OWASP chapter meetings and community gatherings to over 10 people until the latter of 1st September 2020 or local authority restrictions. The board encourages chapters to host virtual meetings. Further, during the ban, any and all chapter expenses will be denied.
Are we sure about that? There are some ongoing things. Maybe some chapter is paying for storage or something along those lines. I think we need to modify that language.
Yeah. I think we should.
Yeah.
Why would we
We
specify
have a
10?
motion. We have a motion. Is anybody second the motion?
I think we need a discussion before we have a motion. Sorry.
Yeah, me too. But there's a motion on table.
The way that the language works for the board, once there's a motion, there needs to be a second before we can discuss it. I'll second it, Sharif.
Okay, although I'm reading it, I'm not necessarily pushing it forward, but fine. So we can actually have a discussion. Mike, you brought it up, so let's have the discussion there, and then we can make a call on what to do. So Richard?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be some occasional expenses that would be apparently reasonable during this difficult time. So I think that language needs to be modified. And
How would you change it to?
I don't know. You might want to say chapters should reevaluate their current spending plans and minimize any use of OWASP funds, right? I mean, that gives.
But this motion doesn't mention funds, does it? Am I reading the wrong motion?
No.
What's
No,
that?
chapter expenses
motion.
will be denied.
Chapter expenses.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
sorry, right.
So Richard, I think the point of the motion is the liability the foundation might face if we are seen to support meetups happening in person. I think that's the context for this motion.
Yeah, but that doesn't say that.
It
Yeah,
says all of that except for the
realize.
last sentence. The last sentence is the only thing that strays from that. And it was
Yeah.
just trying to capture the fact that if we're not having chapter meetings, logically we would not have, say, catering expenses related to chapter meetings because we're not having them.
So Mike, can we say that OWASP Foundation is mandating? Because banning seems to be like a very negative word. So if we can say mandating virtual sessions until the later of September 1st, 2020, or local authority restrictions. And we can also say that these expenses, if they are reasonable, can still be allowed. Because if I'll give you my example, right now we're going to host OWASP chapters all day and we have to buy a license for StreamYard. So I would like to buy that license because it's a kind of a requirement that we need to have as a chapter, and I need to go ahead and expense it. So that's a reasonable expense and I would have to go for it. I know that there will be other expenses, but then we can actually say that it's a reasonable expense. We can be allowed. Like Richard said, that could be because of online things. So could be there are, like, say, in London, there's a live stream going on and we might need some internet usage or something else. So chapter might be expensing that. So that should be allowed. So I think we can just change the wordings a bit on this, and then I think it should be fine.
So the thing
there was some
is, it's about physical meetings. So, but the thing also, I would say we can recommend, because the legal thing is, do we have legal application on the members' meetings? That's the first thing, and we can recommend or ask them to follow their region's policy, because it's different. It's different if you're in Brazil, or if you're in the Netherlands, if you're in Germany, they're opening up now. So it should be in line with the regional government recommendations. And I don't know why we need a board. It's something that should be communicated. But I don't need why we need a motion for that, and B,
Well,
it should be communications that we hold them to that. It's from the foundation towards the chapters that they have to be complying with the legal requirements and policies.
My reason, my reason for suggesting this motion was the fact that chapters are not legal entities. They're part of the OWASP Foundation. If a chapter leader chooses to have an in-person meeting and people were to become infected, there is legal risk for the foundation. So what I wanted to do is basically follow in line with the fact that we would be banning those in-person chapter meetings and community gatherings. And I'm fine with changing it to local authority. I just want to kind of put some kind of like advice in there. Again, just to protect the foundation, that if a local chapter, or I should say a local leader, wants to have a meeting, that they can't just kind of run through local restrictions and expose the foundation to risk. And then the last item I put in there was just, the fact that it did seem to me that we wanted to make sure to have some boundaries on what would be reasonable expenses for chapters that are not meeting in person.
Okay, so
things like catering would seem to be not a reasonable expense for meetings that are not occurring.
Yeah, so Mike, I have a question for you. You said that, I agree in principle that this is good to protect the organization, right? So it's a good idea. But two things pop out. One, you're allowing 10 people. If 10 people are going to get together and they want to order food, that would seem to be a reasonable expense. That's one thing. The second thing is we're telling people it's the latter of either September 1st or local restrictions. If local restrictions allow a meeting and we say you can't do it,
that would be a problem. We should change that then.
Yeah.
We can remove the latter. I didn't make the motion nor did I second it, but one solution would be to remove the language until local authority restrictions are lifted.
Yes.
Or until local authority restrictions allow, then that kind of solves that problem.
Or possibly just say that the foundation requires that the chapters comply with local authority restrictions with regards to meeting.
Yeah, I'll say 10 people. That's just going to confuse it and also put us liable for this. So that's just.
Yeah. And the reality is that in London, 10 people wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, but also there's an optics thing here. This is like COVID has already happened. If we're not going to come out with an email or whatever communication, I assume it's going to happen here, we're going to get ridiculed by people saying, "Hold on, you guys are 6-10 weeks after the fact." Where it happened. I think you should make this something that is an advisory for OWASP meetings as the lockdowns are eased and how they should handle that. And that actually works as a better optics for the communication rather than, oh, look, you guys have already been locked up for 12 weeks, but here's our advice. That's just wrong.
It sounds like the motion needs to be reworded, but it's something that maybe if we put it into the Google Doc, reword it, then we could virtually vote on it and bring it up at the next board meet. Well, virtually vote on it. Mike can go ahead with it, and we can add it to the board meeting minutes that this was done.
I would suggest that we don't wait for the next board meeting because it's another month.
Yeah.
So,
we vote virtually.
So exactly, do an e-vote on the revoting, but it should reflect that we hold chapter leaders to follow the legal governmental rules and guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, as far as the chapter expenses, I think Mike is understanding that the issue with the way it's written.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe if we take this, put it into Google Doc and work on it, and then we can put it into Doodle, have an e-vote, and
agreed.
If that's okay with everybody.
Yeah. So can I suggest, Gary, because you're right about the optics, can I suggest that you make the first run at it?
Sure.
And then Mike, if you will then take a look at it after that, just to make sure that it still covers what you were trying to protect the foundation, and then the rest of us can jump in.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll withdraw the motion
This
Yeah,
isn't a
we
good
can
day
take
for
that
you.
offline.
I would just, well, what I would say is someone could just recommend that we table the motion. That's better than withdrawing it technically. There's no such thing as withdrawing a motion really. You have to either table it or vote on it. So I would suggest someone on the board table
Yeah.
that they move to
We'll
table this
table
motion.
the first two
Yeah, if we had had good
motions.
board training, we would know this.
Is it a motion to table it?
Nicely done. Nicely
Right,
done.
so
sir.
I motion
Yes.
to table the first two motions in the new business section.
I second.
Okay. And Sharif, do we need to vote all seven? Everybody happy with that?
I would just say
We need to
if there's no
vote to
objection,
table?
you could vote on it, or you could, as the chair, just say, are there any objections to tabling the motion? Because there does seem to be some consensus.
Yeah,
I would
that's-
not say that part. I would just say the legally part
Yeah.
is there any objection to tabling the
That's a
motion?
dictatorship.
Hearing none, go on.
Well, I like to make sure everybody's happy. So, are there any objections? Anybody? I don't hear anything. Right? Let's pass.
Nicely done. That's in paragraph 2 of the training. Well done.
Well, I just table the third one now, or we go ahead?
So the last motion actually should have been the first, as it looks like, a pretty easy one, well, a likely one, but motion in accordance to section 4.2 of the OWASP Foundation bylaws, the board of directors hereby grants a 1-year honorary membership effective today to Chitzen Carande, Luis Eduardo, Walter Martin Villalba, and then Aldo Salsa. Apologize if I've mispronounced anyone's names, for having a benefit to the organization deserving of membership. I'm not sure.
I'm assuming that these folks filled out the honorary membership form. Is that how this happened?
Yeah, that's correct. So as I have mentioned at previous board meetings, prior to January 15th, staff just approved anyone who applied for an honorary membership. We discovered, actually Lisa helped discover in the bylaws, that is not possible. The board is the only entity that can grant an honorary membership. So since January 15th, these are the 4 individuals that have requested to get an honorary membership. And so that's why I put it as a board motion for the board to choose whether or not to grant honorary membership to these 4 individuals.
I think we don't
second.
have the information to make a decision on who are they, what do they do, right?
Yes.
We need that before we could vote. Sorry to say.
Neither do we.
Yeah, neither do we.
Well,
They
wait,
just-
when they filed it, don't they have to list why? Isn't there a justification?
They want one.
We could modify the form. We could modify the form if we wanted to. However, what I would say is that, in my humble opinion, if the board was going to grant honorary membership, it would seem to me that any of these individuals would be obviously known by the board for their accomplishments, which is why you would grant them an honorary membership. But we can always modify the form. What I wanted to do is I wanted to at least give staff, I wanted to make sure that when members do apply for honorary membership, that the board takes action on them, which is why I put the board motion.
So maybe it might be worth staff going back to these individuals, getting the rationale as to why they have done it, and then that coming to the board for approval based on. So we're saying here that for having provided benefit to the organization deserving of membership. So, and then we need to actually identify how we weigh up that benefit to the organization.
That's separate.
Who gets it.
Do you want to also know how many times this person has received an honorary membership in the past?
I don't think that matters.
Yeah.
So if they've had 10, so if they've had 5 years of honorary membership, you don't want to know that.
No, I don't. What's the relevance? I mean, if they're donating their time and effort, and if they're a chapter or project leader, or they've done something else, devoting a lot of time to the organization, isn't that what really counts?
I don't know. We were trying to increase membership.
Well,
but it's not the same. We had a discussion and we talked about honorable membership, and actually the board failed to redesign that. And I thought we hoped that for the membership committee to look at it. Again, honorable membership is not I did something and get something for free. Honorable membership is I contributed a long time and extraordinary service to that, for maybe being very long, do something very good, and that will be then acknowledged by honorable membership that it's not time bound, it's mostly for life, whatever. That's how I see it. But you get a medal or you get a distinction for what a long time exceptionary support. Not I did this year, therefore the rest of the year I want to be free membership. The membership is $50, and we talked about it as well. That's something different. We don't need the $50. We need people to be membership and assigned to it, but it's a different discussion. Honorable membership should be honorable. It's something you did extraordinary and more than others, that you receive a distinction and graduation for that what you did over many years or very special effort. And I think that's something that either we have a membership committee who we can ask for that, or the board has failed to change it or to come with another suggestion. That's something we should do. But I don't like the honorable membership for 1 year free. So, I did this small piece. I work for a week for a conference. I get a whole year free or membership. I think it's not the same.
Yeah, only being on board.
It's not a free membership, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
So
it sounds like we need to define that.
Two of those
I made
are
an attempt
already
to do
chapter
that.
leaders. Yeah, but I just looked online. 2 of those are at least chapter leaders. So at least 2 of those have legitimate claims for it, which is fair enough. But as Richard points out, we don't necessarily assume that we know them from Adam. So it's important to actually have that listed before it comes to the board, so we understand what the justification for it. So I have no problem for Walter and Aldo becoming board members. Obviously, they've done their time, and they're chapter leaders. The other 2, if we get the information on them and so forth, then that would be pretty expedited as well. Not any reflection on them. It's just we just need to be judicious about this.
Yeah, there's a few steps that have to happen. One, we have to honor what we have in place now. We can't all of a sudden say, sorry, we haven't developed this as a board, so we're cutting this out. I don't think that's appropriate. So for the time being, I think we have to address this particular request, as Sharif mentioned, and then Walter was also, besides rekindling a dead chapter, the Santa Barbara chapter, he's done it spectacularly. He's also been one of the leading performers on the AppSec California team for the past 2 years. So clearly he's done a lot of volunteer work for the organization. But moving on, Martin's right. We had discussed this and we failed. We need to address this, come up with the criteria, and a way to do it. Is it going to be yearly, annually, lifetime membership? Is it going to be, and who's going to be, how often, how many people? It's all got to be flushed out. Other organizations have this. Other organizations actually have an awards program where people get designations. You know, I've received that at ISSA as an example. There's a lot of things that we can do to beef that up. I think the membership committee would be the natural starting place for this. They're already in existence, and this clearly would seem to fall under them. They could take a recommendation to us for review. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sounds good. And I think for this particular motion, if Lisa can go back to all 4 of them, get the rationale, just so that we're doing the due diligence. If all 4 come back with the information, and then we can take it forward there.
And for the time being, if you could make a required field in the form, right? What for a justification.
So I've got 3 thoughts there. 1, agree with Richard. Yeah, we have to honor this for now. That's what we have in our bylaws, and that's what we have to do. 2, I think it's funny that Sharif said this would be the easy one. That doesn't work out that way. And 3, actually, I think this is an awful thing for the board to have to do, especially in an open forum like this. I think I think we should have honorary memberships, but I think you're going to say yes to some people, you're going to say no to some other people, and that actually I challenge that being very open, because how does that work? How does that not work? That's really weird to me. I don't have an answer, but I think it almost shouldn't be the board that makes a decision. Maybe there should be staff, or maybe it should be the committee, or maybe there should be some static requirements by which you do whatever, but it's really weird.
It could be the case where the board motions to give the executive director the powers to provide honorary membership, providing due diligence is carried out.
No, that's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
No, hang on. This needs to go through the membership committee. There is a proposal, because there are two different things we're discussing. We're using one word to describe two completely different things. Honorary membership should be special. It should be conferred by the board or by the represented people of the membership committees, the representatives of the members, to somebody who's done something spectacular. Complementary memberships for a year because you were a chapter leader or you are involved in a project in some special way, that's a different story altogether. One of those things is a board matter, the other is more operational. But we need the membership committee to actually come up with what those criteria look like. So this should go to the membership committee.
Yeah, but the thing is that our current bylaw stated this, so their application is justified. So we have to do the due diligence and vote on those for 1 year honorable membership.
So the bylaws, just to be clear, the bylaws basically say that only the board can confer honorary membership. It does not say a term. It does, and it's not obligatory, which means just because someone wants to be an honorary member doesn't mean the board has to take any action whatsoever. So what I would encourage you to do is, as kind of been the case for the rest of these, would be to table this motion if you don't want to approve all four, and then come up with a secondary discussion later as to figure out how does the board want to do honorary memberships going forward. Because currently the way the bylaws are written, you would vote on it.
And then what's next?
Right. And all I wanted to do was, I wanted to make sure that the people who had applied were not being ignored, that at least I was bringing them forward because they had applied. Again, you're not obligated to receive them or reject them at this point in time.
Yeah, so I have to.
Sheriff,
go on.
So I agree that for now we can table that on, or we can reach out to these people and get to know. But what the simple thing would be to go on is just have some recommendation lines that who should be getting honorary membership. I understand chapter leaders, project leaders should be getting, but then whether they have contributed or not, we can see by the meetups that they have done, by how much they have active. I think these are simple recommendations that we can do and be done with it, because these things can go on and loop. Like we can have a membership committee, we can have so many other things, but again, those things wouldn't be like justifiable. We can just go on and on for years, but we just have some simple recommendations. Let the staff know, they know that these are the recommendations they have to come up, and then board can go ahead and approve it, and that too on a monthly basis, that can be done.
Yeah, I would like to have the membership committee ask, because it's about a membership. It's a free membership as a reward for what you did. So I would then ask the membership committee to come with a proposal on how to handle this and based on what. Because when membership, you're a chapter leader, you did 3 or 4 minimum. Is it enough? Must it be more than that? Yeah. How you compare project leadership with membership, with volunteering on a conference? That's something I think that the membership committee should also take in mind and come with a proposal.
Right, and until that happens, I think we have 4 people here who deserve an answer. And so Mike will take back and gather the information about them, send it to the board via email, and the board can decide,
on case,
Yeah, and to manage expectations as well, because some of them are obviously chapter leaders and so on, and so I don't want it to sound like a mother may I, right? Just tell them, look, we need to update the form. We just need to clean up this process, and you'll get that for the ones where it's not necessarily as clear. Then just to either do some research and then get some information from them directly to validate, but just to manage expectation rather than make it sound more bureaucratic than it is.
Yeah.
Because these people have put in their blood, sweat. It used to be a hand wave, and now they're being waiting. So it's important just to not make it sign, go back and reapply and tell us why you're worthy of this. It's more of, we're cleaning this process up. Can you just validate this is the reason why? And if we don't know, ask them and then put it through.
So I ask that we table this motion. Did I get that right, Mike?
Second.
Yeah. And then who originally seconded this to begin with? Because I forgot to write that down.
There was no second.
Oh, I have it. There was. Hold on.
I went to second it, but then I was talked over. So
Oh, I
There
thought
was
you did
no second
then.
originally?
I think Grant's second again, right? He second.
No, I have. I've written down that Owen seconded it, but he was talked over. Yeah.
I definitely
I
didn't
tried to second
this one.
it. I tried to second it to allow the discussion, but nobody, what's the word? Acknowledged it. I'm going to say, although Gary wrote it down, so maybe that's all the acknowledgement is needed. So yeah,
You can fix the
motion to
minutes.
table
You can
all.
fix them. I'll send out the minutes. You can fix them once you see them next month.
If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there, is
It's a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually heard that today somewhere.
We
Simpsons
do have a
recorded,
recorded.
though.
Yeah,
We heard a tree fall into the woods, but you weren't there.
yeah.
No, it was actually said in Simpsons. Lisa said it to Bart,
All right.
actually.
So it's getting on in time, folks. Do we have any?
Yeah.
last
How's that?
stuff?
Yeah.
So sorry, who
that's
proposed
fine.
and seconded the tabling of that last one?
So yeah,
Sharif,
motion
just to
table
say
the
that-
comb.
yeah. All right. So the only other
Yeah.
items
Motion
Go ahead,
to table.
Sharif.
Who's seconding it?
I can second
Sorry,
it.
someone going to
I
second.
did.
Okay,
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll second it.
thank you.
No objections? Dictatorship?
Exactly. If there's no objections, you can table it. The only other items I put
was a
in,
joke, right?
real quick, if Sharif, you're kind of scrolling around, if you go to the bottom, there was just 3 announcements. Actually, all of them I've already made at the very bottom of the, actually not at the bottom of that, but at the bottom of the agenda. There's an announcement section.
highlights.
Scroll up.
Sorry,
Old business, new business.
New business
and
announcements.
then announcements. There you go. There's just 3 bullets. I've already mentioned all 3 of those. But just to read them, that DEF CON and Black Hat offline have been canceled, and that we're going to be welcoming Alana, and that I do want to thank on the public call SIBA for all her work. We're not going to be renewing her contract, but I do want to thank her for all of her support of the foundation, this most recent engagement, and for previous engagements with the foundation.
Mike?
Yeah, thanks. Definitely, Shiva, who has been with us for some years. So I think since the upsec in UK, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And welcome to Alona.
Any other business?
Sharif?
Technically, Sharif should ask if you want to adjourn.
Yeah.
yeah, no, motion to adjourn the board meeting.
Yeah.
Well, nobody seconded, so we have to wait here all day.
Yeah,
I second.
okay.
Objections?
I'll stop the recording. Okay, thanks
it.
everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Stay
See you next
safe
month.
out there.
Take care. Stay safe. Don't kiss any strangers.
It's still being recorded, Martin.
It's still good advice.